compared to my traveling and my life in America. So this room was... I think this room was like $38 a night. I was willing to go up to $50 a night, but I didn't have to. Something like that. Top right, Zest. Bottom left, Byun. And Byun is heading out for a proxy. So let's follow that SEV. Thank you, Yokikir. Going to Korea sounds like so much fun. It's a ton of fun. Chicken Man, I hope you get to do it one time. At least one time. And sometime soon. How do you compensate for jet lag? Not taking a long nap or going to sleep at all until it is time to in the place you are arriving. The old towel trick, lightly wet a towel and put it under the door to the hall. Is that actually a thing? Why do you have to wet the towel? Does that really help with sound suppression? Interesting. Shut up, Fear Dragon. Shut up, Behemoth. Okay, alright. Can anyone else? Is there, you know, we had GSL, ASL, OSL. Can we get the fourth one? Does anyone remember what the fourth one was? Proxy barracks and a bunker. Zest should not all be surprised by this. It is Byun. It is Byun. So, what a surprise, am I right, guys? He's proxy and he's being aggressive. He's being annoying. It's not surprising at all. Zest, not unfamiliar with facing Byun. In fact, at this point, the Korean players play each other probably a stupid amount, as there is not, unfortunately, there's not much, there's not many Korean pros. The diversification is a little lacking. This has already done a decent amount of damage, though. 2 is kind of the bare minimum to say this is a success. 3 is a golden opportunity. A lot of Terrans would be very thankful to get 3 probes and then have the Reaper survive into the bunker that actually finished. This is perfect for a Terran player, really. Zest is trying to respond kind of as calmly as possible. It's very important not to get tilted and let everything else fall down as well with those probes. So he has this high ground pylon, able to put the shield battery in range of a stalker, but not in range of the bunker, so that the Reapers cannot kill the shield battery. And it is plural Reapers. One just went to the high ground, bopped itself over the gateway, and is now going to get to that 4th probe, and maybe a 5th as well. I don't know if it's worth diving for it. No, well, in that case it wasn't, because the probe lived thanks to the shield battery. But you might say, well, second Reaper, what else was it going to do? Well, you know, 2 Reapers survive, they go off, do whatever for a minute, they come back a minute later. It's very possible that Zest does not have his units in the correct location, or any units at all, really, at home, if he's trying to be aggressive or something, right? But whatever. Moving on. Command Center's on the way for Byun on the high ground. Very safe follow-up because he proxied his barracks. That's not producing anything as it flies back home. He also is going into a very harassment-based follow-up, so a lot of not direct engagement units. If something came across the map, if this was a Warp Prism and 4 Stalkers rather, and 3 Gateways, the Wood of Mines would have to hope that it shot the Warp Prism down, right? But it's not. It still is a worry. This is the safer way to play. Now we move on to some of the more physical assault units. Cyclone. While doing a hefty Wood of Mine drop, Zest has decided to go into a Stargate. He's got an Oracle back at home willing to help out with those Wood of Mines. And then that is it as far as the Stargate goes, going into a Twilight Council afterwards. In a very, very fast 3rd Nexus. Not the fastest, but still pretty fast. Wet the towel so it gets in the crack better. Ah, okay. Yeah, Wood of Mine drop. Ooh, 2 Wood of Mines, not getting any shots off. Already a fairly successful defense, but these ones should. Oh, only one was dropped out. Excellent defense, actually. Zest might have messed up against the Reaper, but only going to let 1 Wood of Mine get a shot at the end of the day. Not even, as that one's picked up. Byun doesn't want to just let 1 Wood of Mine go for 1 probe. That wasn't a full surround, and I think Zest noticed it as well. A full surround immediately does the trick, but that was missing 1 probe. No one said MSL. That's what I was looking for. These guys are silly. You missed MSL. It was certainly the less important tournament. I won 4 MSLs. Am I a bonjour? Did you win an OSL? No. Well, get the fuck back in line. You're gonna commentate on Artosis' ladder games? Now that would be a good use of my time. Am I gonna be casting Tasteless House Party? I probably would be if it was actually happening. That's not even a meme. 30k key money's wild. The landlord spent the money, can afford to give you the massive stack of cash back. Well, then they would get in a lot of trouble, right? I guess I was gonna say, you know, you wouldn't get the same amount of trouble if the guy didn't give you a security deposit back, but yeah, it's obviously not the same because so often landlords do get away with not giving security money back, even though you did not do anything to the apartment. And obviously, like $500 is way different than 30k. Yeah, they just get in a ton of trouble. So I don't know if it ever happens, how often it happens. I'm not sure. But it is a bit bizarre, isn't it? But kind of a benefit is that once you get started on the key money, it kind of can maybe snowball a little bit in a way. You know, 30k down, you're like, oh, it feels bad, man, 30k away from my money pockets for a full year. But then you get it back, and maybe you save an extra 4k during that year, so then the next apartment gets a little bit nicer with 34k, you know, whatever. I'm not going to say it's unintentionally saving money for you, making you be responsible, but some people might see it as a way to be responsible. Anyways, we got ourselves a little push, which is kind of scary. This kind of push could do a lot of damage. It could do a little damage. You just never know. And there you have Zest thinking, okay, this is my time to take advantage, as Byun was very much moving to turn away, but Byun probably intentionally doing that, moving away and then going, aha, you thought it was moving. Psych. Because he knew he was under revelation, so it wasn't like he thought he was going to be caught just leaving with no punishment. So in turn, he tries to punish the Blink Stalkers. Now, time is really more on Zest's side, more warp-ins. So I do think that if Byun's going to go, it has to be quite soon. And, well, he went, didn't he? Auto turret gets thrown down to help against the Zealots. Marine Marauder gets forced back. And more Zealots are on the way, so I think that'll do the trick. But, ooh, speaking of Zealots, apparently a round was used to go for harassment. 11, 12 SCVs already going down. That's why Zest didn't have as much as expected on that third base. I suppose Byun was trying to take advantage of that. Unfortunately, could not do any real punishing on the third base of Zest, and took all the damage back in his own natural. 17 SCVs went down, probably a handful of army units, and yes, third CC is not even an orbital yet, so just a lot of damage taken here from Byun. I'd say it's an unsuccessful game so far. Zest is going to get a lot of control over the game now, decent amount of Stalkers, not to say the least. That's a good amount, really. They got 1-1, better upgrades than Byun, who has not gotten +1 armor. Probably was supposed to be on the way, and then everything happened the way that it did. And then Zest is going to grab a fourth base, Stark Shrine, 2-2 upgrades. By the way, bringing back the Double Forge. I like it. I do expect a fourth base, actually. Since he is sticking purely on gateway units, you usually see very fast expansions with this. Loses a couple of Stalkers. He tries to control Byun's army. He's going to go for a bit of a sandwich. No, mostly a distraction tactic. And the Zealots guaranteed to get some army units killed. So their lives weren't totally worthless, but probably not worth exactly that many Zealots to do that. Zest moved in, got 4 SCVs. Gonna go after a medevac, but the one of mine is gonna have to be blinked away from. Zest does love putting down proxy pylons, and he even sometimes goes for 2 proxy gateways. 1 here and 1 here. Just the 1 so far. But continuing to warp in. Zest will add on DTs with blink if he's doing things he's done in the past, which apparently he's still improving on. And that'll add almost a force field-like effect. Even with the nerf to DT Blink, it still does provide a force field effect. I'm really surprised by the lack of fourth base, though, especially because Zest is banking enough. Banking enough and controlling the narrative enough, in my opinion, as well. Well, not banking anymore. 8 DTs. That's what he wants to go for. He wants to go for a 3-base not exactly all in, but very, very dedicated build, very dedicated attack. ATT's coming in slow, though, because they're coming in from the left side. This might turn a little bit awkward. Raven does get destroyed for adding any spellcasters, but the bio here, I mean, it just, the upgrades were about to be fantastic for Zest. They were still good. It was still 1-1 to just 1. Could have been 2-2 to 1, though. But even if that was the case, I just think that Zest had a little bit less than he needed to really overwhelm or even truly combat the army. But again, it's not about just the army fights, is it? Yeah, absolutely not. DTs run in, kill 15 SCVs, gonna kill a couple of Marauders, maybe that Cyclone, then more units get warped in because Zest is just pumping gateway units all the time, all day long. And Zest, I mean, he's still on the brink of not doing enough damage. The DT Blink is going to finish up soon. He's going to blink on top of those units. Okay, that seems a little bit dangerous. So many of the Stalkers are very, very low. Yes, they have 2-2, but Medivacs and Bio ain't no joke. EMP is going to help out as well, but maybe it is just an overwhelming number of Protoss units. It does look like that with the backup Zealots on the way. No extra DTs have been warped in to try and help with that force field like I'm talking about, but maybe he doesn't need it. SCV's pulled into this, blinking forward to snipe the Marauder. Oh, some of these Stalkers are so low, and losing Stalkers is just painful, guys. In the grand context of Protoss, they're not that expensive, not like a Disruptor, not like Colossus, but they are still the most expensive thing that he is warping in right now. Well, no, DTs are more expensive, actually. But right now, currently, yes, so it's, you don't really want to replace them. Especially when they are what often causes the snowball to happen. Zealots, they have trouble really ending games because a guy like Byun's going to just micro. And the Zealots are only going to get, chip damage. Not going to kill these units. It's the Stalkers with their micro, with the focus fire, with the blinking, that's going to usually kill a lot of the units. So when that count gets reset, it does feel a little more winnable. Not that a surplus of Zealots won't do the trick. They might. But imagine if like 12 more Stalkers are alive. It doesn't matter. Byun knows that he was just barely not. I mean, it was kind of still very close, though, even at the end there. That the worker count wasn't in the gutter. And Zest didn't have a fourth base. He had only just started it. But, yeah, I think the fact was, one of the only times I ever used a graph here. Yeah, the fact was Zest was still outmining him over a long period of time. And Byun was not taking good enough fights. Just barely not, though. Like, he was really close to getting the seesaw back in his favor. Again, a few more Stalkers die, a few more Zealots don't get warped in, a few more DTs get wasted, and then suddenly it goes heavily in favor of the bio player with Stim and Medivacs. Oh well. But a fun playstyle from the Protoss. Whoops, that's the wrong one. Sonavla, thank you for that 2-month Prime sub. Do you get money back plus inflation? No. You don't get... No. That would be more like a bank, but it's not a bank. Top right, Zest. Bottom left, Byun. Zest taking the first game. And no proxy this time around. I do think Byun's opener was successful. Not many probe kills. Arguably more successful if he didn't go for the second Reaper. But still, I liked the opener for Byun fine. It was just barely not doing enough with the situation. His bio, barely not winning those fights. His SCVs, well, barely not being saved would not be correct. They were not saved whatsoever. But again, few less SCVs killed in the first run by, the second run by, the DT run by. Oh, they could really change things up. Especially that first run by. killed so many SCVs, but then also happened when Byun tried to engage. You make the SCVs take a little less damage, the Bioarmor does a little more damage. Then you also consider that Byun might have actually started his +1 armor a bit faster if he didn't take the SCV damage. And again, that would have contributed greatly to what was a real tight game for a long time. Even when Byun tapped out, if you look at the supplies, you might still be like, well, wasn't that, maybe? But now he would have gotten overwhelmed. It would have, in the same way that like a few things go better for Byun, and it would have tipped the scales drastically to his side. Suddenly the Bio Army just is pounding on a gateway army, and you're laughing at the guy stuck on gateways. It also was about to tip heavily into Zest's favor, and Byun just tapped out just before it tipped to an extreme degree, where we were laughing at Byun for staying in the game. Because if he did wait 30 more seconds, that's probably what happens, is that we're like, oh, but the supplies are, they're fine. The army's still alive. Like, it's okay, right? And then Byun just gets everything blinked upon, everything charged upon, doesn't have a third SCV mining, or a third command center mining, so on and so forth. But those types of seesaw games are very entertaining. Byun did not proxy Rox this game, but he is still going for a 1 base opener all the way up into that starport that is proxied because he is doing a Hellion drop. Zest has once again opened up with an Oracle, which last game he opened up with the Oracle into Twilight Council right afterwards. If he goes into Phoenix this time around, he will unknowingly be helping himself. But if he goes into a Twilight Council, again, that's not really going to benefit the Protoss player until the upgrade you're getting there from is done. Okay, whether it was Phoenix or second Oracle, both are great options, better than the Twilight Council option in this particular battle, but okay, maybe it doesn't matter. Oracle's not going to be out. First Oracle went across the map. Zest had no scouting whatsoever and has paid a heavy price for it. In fact, he could tap out and he would not be looked down upon. 15 SCVs go down and the Hellions are still alive. He gets pushed away from killing any SCVs whatsoever. Yeah, I think he killed one. But definitely not enough. GG. And that's why you scout. Spent more time talking about the first game than I did casting that second game. Thanks, Barrett. Have a good night. Even though this chair doesn't raise and lower.
Apparently you are doing something right, Captain.
It's actually a fine chair. Remember when I was casting something from my parents' my family's house, and there was like the wooden chair. That actually really, really bothered me. This one, thankfully, is all right, and it can go backwards. Yay! Ooh, Zest. Intentionally not building that probe. 12 pylon. Bottom left. Top right, it is Byun. Cheese, and then a cheese, and then another cheese, but from the other guy. Hells yeah. What does this mean? Well, in the olden days, before the Stargate was nerfed, it could mean, and would usually mean, that this is a faster gateway, faster cybernetics core, and thus a faster Stargate. Nowadays, I feel like it just means faster or gateway harassment, which is not nearly as game-ending. Well, let's watch it unfold. Gurgzilla. Thank you for the 3 months. Have I laughed at that name before? Thank you for the 3 months, Lisa. Oops. I think I'm going to use my second phone that I brought to do some Twitch chat reading. I think that does make a lot more sense. Why'd you bring a second phone? Are you really that needy? No, I don't use it to double my social media time, guys. I brought it in case I wanted to use it as a camera, first of all. Now I might use it as a Twitch chat reader. But I also brought it because instead of having my actual phone that gets messages and does stuff, I was going to... Oh, he's going to proxy Stargate anyways. It's just not going to be Void Race. But yeah. I was going to take videos with it for all the vlogging stuff. Because it's a Pixel 3 versus a Pixel 6, but still, Pixel 3 still has fine quality. So I'm a real travel vlogger. Yo. And the Stargate proxy is underway, including some adept pressure. Now, Zest did no scouting last game. He was severely punished for it. Byun, so far not doing any scouting, did not SCV scout, is more typical for a Terran player, so this is not as punishable a lot of time for the Protoss, but with the Reaper only just now getting in, I mean, imagine if they'd stayed at home for an extra 10 seconds because it was worried about a probe, which, by the way, Zest again did not scout, so wouldn't have to worry about a probe, would it? Recalls the Adept. I guess maybe he was hoping... Oh, it is a Void. What the what? Okay, there's a lot of question marks in this game. First of all, question mark number 1. Did Zest just assume that Byun's going to open up with Marines? Because he hasn't been so far, so I don't know why you would assume that. Because otherwise, why would you let your one Adept, your one fighting unit, go across the map with no shield battery? That's question number 1. Question number 2, why would you Stargate rush after the nerf? Void Ray, specifically rush after the nerf. Question number 3, why would you Void Ray rush without shield batteries helping it? Because that was always the real issue with the Void Ray rush. A Void Ray by itself is not that intimidating to a Terran player 9 times out of 10, but a Void Ray plus a shield battery really early on is intimidating. I don't, I'm so confused. What? I've never